Right. How's everybody doing? My name is Derek, and you are on the Fragrant Mind podcast. This is officially our first episode, and yeah, we're doing pretty good. So we have a little bit of maybe some growing pains to get through, but it's okay. I just kind of wanted to introduce myself. My name is Derek. I host a channel on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook called The Fragrance State of Mind. I am a fragrance content creator. I don't like calling myself an influencer because I don't really like to influence anybody. But short rundown, basically, about a year ago, so to take you back a little bit, I used to, so I became disabled probably around right before COVID. I started having issues with mobility. I had gained a significant amount of weight. And I, stepped away from being a chef. I was an executive chef for many years. And I decided, I needed to, kind of focus on my health. And I went through a lot of surgeries. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis as well as hidradenitis suppurativa. So I sat at home a lot and, just fell into depression, was kind of dealing with a lot of, loneliness. And I did get married about 4 years ago. And my wife has been super supportive. But anyway, long story short, about a year ago, I was kind of in a funk. And my wife and my mom came to me and said, hey, you should do something productive, because you're just sort of sitting at home all day with nothing to do. You're getting depressed. Your sleep schedule's all off. And so I said, I watch a lot of fragrance content on YouTube. Plus, like back in like '07, I was making, content on YouTube at the time. And I thought, maybe I could try that, give it a shot. So I literally set up a little makeshift camera thing in my living room from my phone. And I had been collecting fragrances my whole life. And I said, I'll make some fragrance content. So I started uploading fragrance content on YouTube. And it was kind of slow moving at first. A few people would watch and comment, but I was having a blast. I really enjoyed the ability to. Oh, wait a minute! Why am I coming in so crappy? Anyway, I was really enjoying the ability to make content and communicate with people out in the internet. And my video quality is not good. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. I'm having some technical difficulties. Anyway, so I started making YouTube content, and things started going well. Things were, I was getting more views. People were watching. There was some expressed interest in what was going on. So I decided I was going to do this full time, and I essentially spent, a little bit of money that I had saved up. I bought a nice camera. I set up a studio in my spare bedroom, and I just started making, content full time, daily uploads and things like that. And over the course of the next 8 months, I had amassed over 10,000 followers, which for me was pretty amazing. And so from the last 8 months till currently, now I have about 30,000 followers online. And this has opened up a whole new world for me. And it's been an absolute blessing. And one of the things that's amazing about being able to make content on social media is that you make a lot of really cool relationships with people. And the guest that we have on today is someone that I have looked up to for a really long time. His name is Steven. He runs a channel on YouTube as well as TikTok called Redolescence, and he's kind of like an OG in the fragrance game. And he's someone that I watched literally every day for years. And when I did, it was weird. We ended up, I think I reached out to him or something, and we ended up talking early on in my career as a content creator. And he's been super supportive. And he's kind of been there since the beginning, really supporting the channel, supporting us. So I couldn't think of a better guest to have on the first A Fragrant Mind podcast than Steven. So we're going to bring him right on. But before we do that, let's go ahead and roll the intro. Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and then bring in Stephen. So, like I said, Stephen runs the channel Redolescence, and he is a content creator. He is someone that I have looked up for a really long time, and he is an OG in the fragrance game. He's got his own. He creatively directs a fragrance company called Novitus Parfums, and he is just an amazing person. So we'll go ahead and bring him in right now. Okay.
Hey, Derek.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Thank you so much for
I'm
such a warm
good.
introduction. Wow.
Yeah, definitely. So does my video quality look horrible right now? Because it looks horrible on my end.
It's a little blurry, but I can
Yeah,
hear
it
you.
is, right? I don't know what's going on with this.
Well, now it's sharpened up a little bit.
Okay, there we go. Well, I don't know
No.
what's going on. Listen, this is crazy. Here's the thing, okay? So I literally just downloaded this software. We're using it. We're playing with it.
Mhm.
It's called Riverside FM, and I don't know what's going on. Yeah, this is kind of like flying by the seat of our pants kind of thing, you know.
You
But
know, like,
hopefully we can work out the quirks.
yeah, like when it comes to fragrances, people say it's the juice inside that counts. So as a
Yeah.
podcast, as long as I can hear you perfectly, it's the sound that counts. And I
Oh,
feel like the
absolutely.
visuals, it's like an added bonus. But no, man,
Yeah.
it's great to be here. It's great to be chatting with you. And yeah, kind of like you said in the introduction, you and I go back several months. And I remember seeing your videos on TikTok, and you reached out, and you're just a very humble, down to earth person. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate you being there for me, and vice versa. And I just know you're going to do some incredible work with this podcast. So thank you for having me be the honorary initial guest.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man. Like honestly, you know, I, I had been really racking my brain, like, who do I bring on as the first guest and all this, and it was just uh, an obvious answer. I had to reach out to you, and I was so thankful that you took me up on the offer because honestly, like, I don't know, you know, I don't know what we would have done if it wasn't you. You know what I mean? It just was an obvious thing. So
No,
I'm
I
really
really
glad that that happened. I don't know what's going on with this video. Um, hmm, who knows? All right, so beyond the glitchiness, why don't you kind of share a little bit about who you are if people don't know? I can't imagine a lot of people don't know who you are, but as a fragrance content creator, OG in the game, how did things start for you? What is the I mean, I guess I don't know how to like frame this question, but how did things start for you in content creation? Like what is it if you were talking to someone that had no idea about fragrance or anything, how would you describe what you do?
I mean, if I were to kind of summarize, and by the way, I understood the question perfectly. I think you're a
Yeah.
great host. If I were to summarize it in layman's terms, I would just say I make fragrance recommendations trying to help other people smell good. And one of
Mm.
the things that I used to say on my channel, this going back many, many years, is I smell well so that you can smell good. And
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest drawback, I don't know if I would call it a drawback necessarily, but one of the biggest things about content creators is that we kind of have to do our best to remain unbiased. And what I
Hmm.
mean by that is we sample everything. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of bottles on the shelves here behind me. I don't love every single one of them.
Yeah.
Some of them I just cannot wear. Some of them are way too strong. Some of them are way too dark or daring or experimental. But I think in many ways we have to take the proverbial hit
Yeah.
to cover a wide gamut of everything, just so that people can make an informed decision as to what
Mm.
their next purchase is going to be. So what
Right.
happens is a lot of times I'll find myself coughing up a significant amount of money purchasing something that I may not necessarily love, but it's part of what we do here on the platform. And I've seen you cover many fragrances that you just did not like.
Yeah.
And we all know what those TJ Maxx and Marshall purchases can be like. But to answer your initial question, I'm so sorry for straying off topic and
Mm.
deviating. Is I kind of fell into it the way you did. It
Yeah.
was a form of escapism for me, and I found it to be something that was very cathartic, for lack of a better word. And I initially was looking up a new signature scent for myself, And this
Mm.
goes back to like 2011, 2012. So it was well over a dozen years ago. And I stumbled across Fragrantica, which
Mm.
brought me to Lucky Scent. And I
Yeah.
ended up buying 5 samples for myself. I still remember what they are.
Mm.
And they were all niche perfumes. And I remember just trying them for the first time and thinking to myself, there's no way that these perfumes exist. And one of the
Yeah.
first ones that I ever tried on the niche realm is L'air du Desert Marocain by Tower Perfumes. And
Mm.
that is truly a masterpiece. It's a work of art, dry, spicy amber. But the one that really piqued my interest is the self titled Comme des Garçons perfume, which is in the very oddly shaped bottle. You can't even stand it upright. And it has notes of packing tape, industrial glue. I said, there's no way that a perfume has these notes in it. And that was
Yeah.
one of the first. I bought a zero point 0.7 ml sample, like a tiny little sample.
Mm.
And I remember wearing it and thinking to myself, this is unreal. But that threw me down the proverbial rabbit hole. And I
Yeah.
just had to buy everything. And so I started covering anything and everything: designer, niche, cheap, expensive, men's, women's, unisex. And this is where we are now.
Yeah. Yeah, my story is slightly different because I don't think I didn't start with the super creative, I guess, like, indie style, artistic fragrances. I really started with, I mean, my mom sold Avon when I was a kid. And, so like the sort of artistic Avon bottles that they had back then. And to be honest with you, a lot of them were rough. You know what I mean? This is kind of a funny story. It's a little gross, but so I was a Boy Scout, and my mom, because she sold Avon, so she would get those little, like, I don't know if you remember, they look like wet naps, but they had like the fragrance in like a little pad, and it would come in like a wet nap style like thing.
Sure, yeah.
And yeah, so I used to take them with me to go camping with the Boy Scouts because when we go camping, they would literally have like an outhouse where you would go camping, and it smelled so bad. So what I would do is I'd have like a pocket of Avon little fragrance samples, and I would put it under my nose when I was going to the bathroom. So yeah, that was kind of like my introduction into it. But no, every year for like Christmas and holidays and things, my family would buy me like a bottle of fragrance because I really like to smell good. And back then they called me like what you would consider like the term metrosexual, right? So like I was
Yeah.
sort of like a straight man, but I was, I cared about the way I looked. I like to wear, clothes that were fashionable. I like jewelry and things like that. Like I've always really cared about the way I looked and the way I presented to other people. And so back then that was sort of like I guess made you a little different. You know what I mean? And so that was sort of my entrance into it. But I always collected my bottles, and the thing is, I was kind of always a collector. So I would. I actually used to collect Sobe bottles. I don't know if you remember Sobe,
Yeah,
the
sure.
drink. Yeah.
So
So
be
like I would,
yourself.
huh?
That was their motto, right? So be yourself.
Yeah, something like that. But they had the lizard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I had like a whole collection of Sobe bottles and stuff. But I always kind of collected things, and so fragrance was sort of a natural thing for me. But yeah, designers and things like that were really where I started. It wasn't until I got really into my 30s where I started getting into more of the artistic stuff. And honestly, a lot of it I found through you. Watching videos where you would, especially you and Brooklyn Fragrance Lover, when you guys would get together and kind of discover these new artistic scents, and you'd talk about it, and you guys would describe it so well, and it was like such a journey to listen to you guys. And I'd be like, oh, I have to try that, and then I'd look up I'd Google it and be like, oh man, that's a chunk. But
Wow, thank you
um,
so much. So you've been watching our channels for many years. Wow.
oh yeah, no, definitely. I've been watching fragrance content for a long time. I mean, it was definitely, I don't even remember what year. I want to say like 2017, 2018 is probably when I started, heavily watching fragrance content. And it's kind of sad. A lot of those original creators are gone, and either they just decided to stop uploading, got bored with it, or in the case of Brooklyn Fragrance Lover, passing away, and that was a really, I think, hard thing for the whole community, and I know especially for you because you guys were so close.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think what
Yeah,
happens is people might get into it because they just want to express themselves or they want
yeah,
people to know that they're out there. And after they've satisfied that, maybe a lot of them feel like they don't really need that interaction anymore, so they stop uploading and they stop producing content. But my only hope is that they still have that love for fragrance, and
yeah,
that even if they're not recording themselves talking about fragrances, at least they're still wearing a fragrance every day and they're still appreciating it and still incorporating it as part of their wardrobe, because ultimately, that's what we want to do. And like, we produce content, but we know that 99.9% of the people who watch our content don't produce content. So as
yeah.
long as we're able to make those recommendations and we're able to inspire a love or a passion within them, even if they're
Mm.
not necessarily going down the same trajectory that we've decided to go down, as long as they still have that love for fragrances, I think that's what matters.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I mean, one of the main goals that I do with a fragrance state of mind and with everything I do online really is to, just inspire creativity, um, whether it be fragrance or really anything else, which is, for me, fragrance is sort of the niche that I have chosen for my content. But um, the act of being creative is so important, I feel, for really not just people individually, but for society in general. Um, whether it be school or anything, I think the arts is so important, and the ability to, um, use your mind to sort of interpret things and create and always be thinking and always be sort of problem solving and trying to think of unique things you can do. It really opens your mind and gives you the ability to sort of be a more grounded person, and I'll be honest, like in this, in at least in the fragrance community, I think there's a couple different types of people. There's the sort of like nose up people, they've got their nose up to you. They think, oh well, the way you interpret that fragrance is wrong, and I know all this, and oh, I have these $1,000 bottles and everything, and there are those type of people. Don't get me wrong,
Sure.
but I find that a majority of people in the fragrance community who really truly appreciate scent and appreciate the art of it, they don't have sort of prejudgments on whether a fragrance is an EDT or an extrait de parfum, or if it's a $20 fragrance or a $300 fragrance. Literally none of that matters, and it's all about the contents of what's inside the bottle, and those are my people. That's why I do videos, is because, I don't think art should have like a status or, I think it transcends all of that, and that's, for me anyway, why I do this, is because I think, being able to transcend status or gender or any of that stuff, and really just being able to open our mind, be creative, be able to express ourselves. That's that's why I do this, and anyway,
You're
I mean,
absolutely right, though. I mean,
yeah,
I've had conversations with people recently who are not necessarily into fragrances,
mm,
and I'll have them try a few different fragrances, all vastly different from one another. And I'll
yeah,
say, this one is spicy, this one is boozy, this one is floral, this one is gourmand, whatever. And then I think, they kind of have like that epiphanous moment where they realize that, oh wait, these all do smell vastly different from one another.
yeah,
Because, if you have like the casual consumer who walks into a Macy's, a Nordstrom, a Sephora, they're smelling predominantly freshies. If we're talking
yeah,
about Dior Sauvage, Jimmy Choo for him, Coach for men, Blue de Chanel, these are all fresh fragrances, right?
yeah,
So they're kind of falling within that same wheelhouse. But when you're trying something like a Bois Secar by Atelier de Sor, or Spirito by Meo Fusciuni, or Green Irish Tweed by Creed, or whatever,
mm,
now they're thinking to themselves, oh my God, like these are all very, very different from one another. And kind of like you said before, they don't care if something is an eau de toilette or an eau de parfum or extrait de parfum. They'll ask like, how long does it last? But
Yeah.
terms like these are so nebulous, you know? Like we have
Yeah.
brands who say, "Oh, my fragrance is an extrait de parfum, but it's only 23% oil." And then
Mm,
another brand will also call their fragrances extrait de parfum, but it's 30%. Or you have a brand like Perfume Roma, which bumps it up to 40%.
mm,
You have brands like Rirana, which bumps it up to 70%. So it's like, all of that stuff is very nebulous. So I think it kind of all goes back to the subjective nature of it. It's so idiosyncratic and it's so personal. It's like if you
yeah.
like the way that it smells, try to avoid the labels. Don't think about the name. Don't think about the way that the bottle looks. Don't think about the shape of it. Don't think about the perfumer or the creative director or the brand or the history or the politics or whatever. If you like the way that it smells, you like the way that it smells. And
Yeah.
chances are a lot of other people around you are also going to like the way that it smells. So, no, I think
Right.
I think you said it perfectly, Derek.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you because like honestly, I think so many people get caught up in that in those little like I know a lot of people that just think like, oh, there's like rules to this or there's some sort of like guidebook or something. There isn't. And that's the other thing is that people assume that fragrance is somehow like guided by rules or something like, oh, if it's an EDT, it has to be this or something. There, I mean, mind you, there are like regulatory groups there's like a regulatory government thing that overlooks like is this ingredient healthy for someone, is this safe for the consumer, and of course that always plays a role. But when it comes to everything else, it's really a free-for-all big time in the industry. And I think people get caught up in, it's supposed to be this, or we assume it's that, and rarely, especially when it comes to fragrance as art, and really any art in general, it's all about expression. It's all about, having really no boundaries, because
Yeah.
if we put boundaries on fragrance, it wouldn't be art anymore. It wouldn't even be able to be as creative as it is, Like perfumers, if they had to like follow some sort of guideline on how much oil they were allowed to use or how much of a certain note they were allowed to, it would get to the point where all of a sudden we all start smelling like, you know, uh, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say like Dior Sauvage, but you know what I mean. Like every fragrance will start smelling exactly the same, or we'll have like, you know, broken down into like 5 basic scent profiles, and that's pretty
Right.
much all we get.
Yeah, they'd end up being very adulterated, very neutered. Um,
Exactly.
Look, yeah, I think you're right. I think there are no restrictions. I think sometimes I'm kind of guilty of perpetuating that stereotype as well. How many times I've gotten in front of the camera and I've said, this is great for the fall and winter.
Yeah.
Like I'm placing restrictions, or if I say, wow, this is a great formal occasion scent, I'm placing restrictions when
Mm,
I say that. But that's why I always try to have a disclaimer where I say, at the end of the day, wear what you love, wear what makes you happy. These are just recommendations, right?
yeah.
So, there's a lot of perfumes out there. Take, for example, I just did a video that I'm going to publish today. Greenlee by Parfum de
Yeah.
Marly. You know how many women love Greenlee and Altair? It's crazy.
Yeah.
And even I know there's a Latafa dupe for it. What is it called? Art of Nature or something? Art of Nature 2. They have a dupe for Altair, and more women buy it than men because they just love that DNA. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's marketed for men or women. If you like the way that it smells, just wear it.
Yeah. I know the one that I have, I think is what's it called?
Is it I
Ah,
know?
no, it's the hold on. Liquid Brun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, Liquid Brown. Yeah, that's a
Yeah, I
good
think
one.
that's the one that I have. Um I mean, it's weird, something I noticed. I think women love like cardamom. Every
Yeah.
cardamom fragrance I've ever owned, I get compliments. Like I don't get compliments from any other fragrances, but you put on a Lanui de L'Homme or even like the new Stronger with You parfum or something like that. Ladies go crazy over that stuff. They love the spicy stuff. We always assume they like the sweet fresh, but no, they actually love the like the spices because it like pushes out and they pick that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've
Anyway,
noticed
that's
that.
just my experience, but
Azaro as well, right? They've been experimenting a little bit with like a spicier DNA in the
oh,
laundry line.
absolutely, yeah. I mean,
So
the
still has
wanted
some in
line,
there.
yeah, like the most wanted line has gone in that direction. Um, so I think a lot of those scents kind of play with that same similar DNA. I like you look at the like the Tom Ford fragrances, right? Like I think men are really attracted to like the leather stuff, but like um, you put on like a um, what's that one called? Yeah, like a noir extreme or a noir extreme parfum. Like that stuff is what gets women really excited. Um,
And you're right, that has cardamom in it, right?
yeah,
It has
exactly.
that kulfi ingredient, which is a traditional Indian dessert. And
Yeah,
I've also gotten a lot of compliments with that. No, you're right. Even with La Nuit de l'Homme, I've gotten a
yeah,
lot of compliments with that. So I think there's something to it. Now, if you want an incredible, like
yeah,
absolutely incredible cardamom fragrance, but you have
mm,
to be a fan of cardamom,
yeah,
you're gonna try Olympic V. No, excuse me, Cafe V by
yeah,
Olympic Orchids. It's called
mm,
Cafe V. One of the best cardamom scents I've ever tried, but you really have to be a fan of cardamom.
yeah.
Cafe V.
Yeah, I'll have to try that one out. I mean, I love cardamom. Like I always get excited when cardamom is mentioned in a fragrance because like I don't know what it is. I love warmer scent profiles.
Mm.
It's crazy that there's one that really surprised me was John Varvatos XX.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
sure.
it's a crazy good, and they just put out a new one called like it's the intense version, which I'm waiting for it to go on discounters because I'm not going to pay like $135 for a John Varvatos. But I mean, I love the presentation of the new one. It's kind of like this, almost like black and red crackly kind of bottle, total rock star vibes. But yeah, I love. That's one of the fragrances I wear probably the most is the XX, just because like I think it's so good. It doesn't last super long, but I just love the way it smells.
Yeah. No, the
I love when they
anniversary
use like
editions are good.
coffee and things like that. What was that?
A lot of the anniversary editions are very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they do. I made a whole video on John Varvatos actually because like I think they're so underrated. A lot of people assume that it's like a cheapy company or something. John Varvatos' aesthetic is awesome. Like just the concept of being like a rock star brand. Like dude, he took CBGBs and put his like flagship store in the old CBGBs. Like how cool is that? You know what I mean? I mean that you don't get much more punk rock than that.
It is pretty punk rock. I agree. Have you ever
Yeah.
tried there was I think they're discontinued now. Dark Rebel and Dark Rebel Rider?
Dude, I've heard about those fragrances for years. I've never been able to get my hands on them. I've like scoured the internet trying to find them. I think I might have landed on a bottle or two, but like the price just didn't do it for me.
Yeah. Those have been, I mean, they're interesting. They're very dark, juniper berry, woodsy, a little
Mm,
smoky, incensey. Definitely a more compelling olfactive profile than most, but
yeah,
I just never, at the time, I never got around to them just because I feel like I was exploring other avenues as far as the
yeah,
fragrance world goes. And I still have a bottle of both, but those are the ones that I think I'm going to have to revisit. But definitely does a fantastic job of kind of fulfilling that punk rock aesthetic. And
yeah,
everything, their clothing, their jewelry, necklaces, rings, boots. I mean, I love the brand.
yeah, yeah. No, I think they're super cool, and I just I don't know. I think it fits my personality a little bit. But uh, yeah, one of the first darker fragrances I think I ever fell in love with was the original Nuit de Issy Parfum.
Ah, okay,
Like,
yeah, in the black
dude, I
bottle.
love that one. I don't know what it is. And you know what it reminds me of? Like when the first time I ever smelled Spice Bomb Extreme, I smelled it. I'm like, is that Nuit de Issy? Like that's crazy. It smells almost identical. But maybe it was my mind, just the way it came across in my mind. But it just, yeah,
Yeah, Nuit to say is a beautiful, beautiful fragrance.
yeah.
Then there's the Polaris flanker. You remember that?
I feel like I've seen it. It's kind of got like a black and white motif.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever smelt it, but I've seen the bottle. Yeah. They have a lot of flankers that just kind of fell off into obscurity, it seems.
I know. So what have you been really into as of late?
I'm weird. So right now, like, all right, I'm not gonna like. This is not like a plug, okay? But honestly, this is kind of weird. So there's two brands right now that I'm absolutely in love with. One is this new company called Tempest Vitae. I don't know if you can see this. My quality is horrible, but this new company called Tempest Vitae. I actually know you did a review on them pretty recently. But they have, so there's this one scent that they do called High Tea. I don't know if you smelt that one.
Yeah, I have it.
Oh, dude, it's absolutely one of the best tea fragrances I've ever smelled. It's such an authentic, pure tea note,
Yeah.
and it comes across really like it lasts a good amount of time, but it doesn't like super project. It's kind of like a closer wear, scent, but it's just such a beautiful, vibrant, fresh tea note with a little bit of sweetness. It's just very playful, fun, something like total like spring vibes, just something you could throw on and just it just feels super comfy and cozy. I love the way it smells. And then they have another one that I absolutely love called um, hold on if I can remember it.
It's
It
a
was
vanilla
called
one?
yeah, Carpe Diem, which it's just a really amazing woody scent. You know what I mean? That's another one that really stood out to me with them. But yeah, I love those two scents. But really, like I have their whole discovery set, all six bottles, and those two really stand out to me. But there's like so many others that they have that are really incredible. And then the other house that I'm really getting into is Hez. I don't know if you know anything about him, but
That's awesome. I have a few of
so
theirs as well.
yeah, so one thing about Hez is that it's all like New Orleans related. And as you know, I think you know this, but I was born in New Orleans and I grew up I went to college in New Orleans and that's kind of where I learned how to be a chef and everything. And I actually went through Hurricane Katrina back in '05 and this stuff transports me to New Orleans. You know what I mean? He has one that smells literally like Cafe Du Monde in New Orleans, and then he has another one that kind of reminds me of like Audubon Park in New Orleans, which is like you can smell like the trees and the sort of like musty kind of earthy smell of like the bayou, and it is just like there's this scent in New Orleans that is so unique to New Orleans
Yeah.
and it really captures that smell it's so amazing. But and it's hard because New Orleans is a place that I love, but I can't ever go back because of the experiences I had during Katrina. It's just too hard for me. Like I've tried going back a couple times and it's really difficult. So being able to have fragrances that bring me there without actually physically going there is pretty special to me. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we have a lot of brands doing some really beautiful things. Either they're destination driven or they're inspired by maybe a childhood memory, or
Yeah.
a lot of them are just kind of revolving around a particular note. And I think that, so the perfumer is Michael Salazar, right, for the Tempest Vitae, and
So
this one.
Salazar does a few of them, and then I know actually Hez does a few of them,
Oh, that's
and I
amazing.
think there was another, but I can't remember. I believe Hez did high tea, if I'm not mistaken.
You're probably right, but I know they're really high quality. So that's what I
Oh,
was getting
super
at.
high quality.
I even have some of Michael's like original creations from his own line or
Yeah,
brand rather, and they're all like one of them has blueberry in it. I was wearing it yesterday, and my God, that stuff
yeah.
is strong. Thank God I was wearing a black shirt yesterday because if I sprayed it on today's shirt, all you'd see is a big brown stain right in the middle there. I might actually have it here behind me. Hold on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, okay, so this isn't the one, but
Hmm.
this is the brand, right? Aromas de Salazar. And this is
Yeah, yeah,
pure. And even this one, you have to see the color of the liquid. That's the only reason I'm taking it out.
yeah.
this stuff is potent.
Yeah.
And you know, even Tim Hooks with Tempest Vitae has a lot of really dark, potent fragrances. As a matter of fact, I did a video, and
Yeah.
my 5 longest lasting fragrances, Cafe du Jour is one of them.
Dude, that's crazy because I just pulled this out.
Are you
So
serious?
yeah, so I was like, I did a whole video on this one.
Mm.
I did a whole video on this, like me getting my first impression, and like I literally coughed when I sprayed. Like I coughed, and I
Yeah,
was like, "Whoa, this is intense!" Like it literally filled the entire room. And
really
so yeah, I did like a whole little like short video of me smelling this for the first time. But yeah, this stuff is insanely nuclear.
But you know what it is too? That black currant in the opening is so
Yeah,
musky.
yeah,
It's so musky. And people say, perfumers have said this as well. Black currant initially smells a bit like cat pee.
yeah, yeah.
You know, you spray that on, you can't leave the house right away. You know,
Right.
and it's not just that fragrance. I mean, there's fragrances by MFK, for example, that
Mhm.
have a lot of black currant in them. And so that's been my experience with it. But Cafe du Jour, the dry down, is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
yeah. Really nice. I mean, it's very beautiful. I mean, with this one, like I really kind of pick up um sort of like almost it's kind of like if you imagine the way what's that Italian dessert?
Tiramisu?
Yeah, it smells like tiramisu. It's got a little bit of cocoa, a little bit of cinnamon, almost like a creaminess. You've got like that sweetness, maybe, it doesn't have like a super creamy vibe,
Mm.
but you definitely pick up like the cinnamon, the cocoa, a little bit of like maybe like it's definitely sweet. It's saccharine, you know what I mean? But it's just really nice. And yeah, this is a really good one. It's just so strong. Like I was telling people in the video, I said, if you're gonna wear this stuff, you have to literally like spray it an hour before you leave the house.
I could
you
not
know
agree more.
what's that?
I couldn't agree more with you, man.
Yeah. Like you don't want to put that on and then just go, like
No,
nobody's refreshing up in the car and then going into church.
not with Cafe du Jour, believe me.
Not at all. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to announce a couple things real quick.
Yeah.
Um, so speaking of Tempest Vitae, I think this is a good time to talk about it.
Uh-oh.
So I actually they actually reached out to me and sent me these,
Okay.
and we're actually doing a giveaway. So I think we could talk about that here now.
No
So
way.
we're gonna I'm gonna be giving away. Well, Tempest Vitae is allowing me to give away. So we're gonna do 3 different prizes for this.
Okay.
The first prize is going to be you get a set of 2 of these 15 ml bottles, and you get to choose which ones you want. So they have 6 fragrances, and the first place winner gets to choose one of each. You get 2 of these 15 ml bottles, and then second place winner is going to get a full sample set. So the minis.
Get out.
And then third place is going to get a set of 3 minis. So you can kind of choose which 3 minis you want. But we're doing this giveaway, and we're going to launch it here on the podcast. And all you have to do is head over to my YouTube channel, AFSOM, and subscribe. And then in the comments, I need you to just tell me which one of these scents is most exciting to you. And if you're not informed about what they are, I'll link the video at the end of this video so you can watch my breakdown of the full line. And then also you guys can head over to tempestvitaeparfums.com and check them out.
That was amazing. I didn't know Tim did that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tim. If you're watching / listening, that's a very
Yeah.
generous offer. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
One more thing, dude. So I just launched a line of some merch. So I kind of wanted to share that with you guys too.
No, really?
So we have these new t-shirts. It's got the AFSOM logo, and then on the back, yeah. So I think these are pretty cool. If you could see
That's
these.
amazing.
Look good, feel good, smell good. Yeah, and they're all in the same colorway, so you don't get to choose colors. But I actually, so when launching the clothing, I wanted to make sure that I covered everybody. So we actually go from sizes medium all the way up to 4X,
Mm.
so that everyone has the opportunity to wear the clothes. And I really wanted to be able to price it affordably. So I actually placed a very large order for the clothes, and I could bring the price down. So right now on fragrancestatofmind.com, you guys can go and order a T-shirt, and it's only $29.99, free shipping continental US, and that's any size. So I don't charge extra for larger sizes or anything like that. And I did that so that we can include everybody. You don't have to feel like you're being ripped off by buying the larger sizes. And I wanted to make it somewhat affordable, and I think we were able to do that. So that was super cool. But yeah, anyway, done with my mindless plug.
Congratulations on that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I just, dude, as you know, like being in this kind of crazy content creation, YouTube, internet sphere, it's like we literally uh opportunities open up every day. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's the people that are watching us that are engaging and asking for more content. And I have people that have been literally commenting on my videos from the beginning that
Yeah.
still comment and engage. And literally, I always know they're like the first to watch. And I love them so much. Like, you have no idea. I literally do it just for them. And yeah, it's super special, man. Like, I absolutely love doing what I do. And obviously, like, making relationships with people like you, and there's so many others out there that I've gotten the chance to meet over time. It's a super big blessing. And I imagine it's the same for you as well.
It's the same thing for me because I'll tell you, one of my favorite things to do is like take yesterday for example. I got myself something to eat. I drove around for a little bit, ran a few errands. I came home. I uploaded my second TikTok video of the day right around 8:30 p.m.
Mm,
And one of my favorite things to do is just to pour myself a glass of whiskey, sit on the couch,
yeah.
and just reply to comments for like an hour or 2 hours
Wow.
as they come in.
Mm,
And it's just I love interacting with the community, and the fact that there are people who are interested enough to actually watch what we have to say about perfumes. It's incredible. And
yeah.
I just if I were doing this for myself, I would just be wearing fragrances very absent-mindedly. It's just kind of something that happens in the background. But the fact that there are people that engage with our content and they appreciate and support what we do, it's I can never thank people enough for that. And so
Yeah.
both both you and I are very blessed to be doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish it took me 2 hours to reply to all my comments.
I'm sure it takes longer.
No way. Uh, dude, it's funny because, like, I mean, I'm not gonna complain, because honestly, like, it's such a blessing to even, be able to do this, like, in, like, you know, I don't even know. I mean, it's just wild to me, when people just, that they value your opinion enough to even, like, spend, 3 minutes watching your video, never mind an hour long podcast. You know what I mean? It just blows my mind that, because it's almost like, what imposter syndrome is, right?
Yeah, I think
So,
we've all felt that at one point.
yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel like I've got a bit of it because, like, you know, people often ask me, like, my, like, fragrance advice.
Mm,
Like, okay, so I hate going live. Okay, I know that's weird because I'm doing a podcast, but when you go live for, like, people in TikTok or YouTube or something, I get really awkward with people, especially when they start asking, like, random questions, like, "Oh, what do you think about Jean Paul Gaultier?" or "What do you think about this fragrance?"
sure.
It's like I don't want to be one of those people that are just like, "Oh yeah, it's a good one, fresh scent." Like, what do you say to that? Am I rapid fire just telling you, "Oh yeah, your bottle is good"? It's weird, and for me, like, I just got awkward. And at the end of the day, like, why does my opinion matter? Like, I don't want to tell you that you should buy something. I don't want you Like I never ever want there to be a situation where someone hears me talk good about a scent and then goes online and buys it without knowing what it smells like. I don't like that. I don't like the idea that I'm now holding the weight of your purchase. You know what I mean? Um,
I think
my goal is to inform you about this fragrance, let you know if it's something I enjoy, and then if you find that my, description or my opinion was positive enough, go out and test it yourself.
right.
That should always be the next obvious step. For some reason, people just assume, oh, I heard it was good from this guy, so I'm just going to go buy it. The problem is 90, not maybe not 90%, but at least 50 to 60% of the time, you're going to end up with something that you either enjoy initially, but then it sits in the back of your shelf, or, you may fall in love with it, but it's pretty it's you're basically rolling the dice, and I don't like holding that kind of weight. And honestly, like, uh I mean, how do you feel about that, honestly? Like, do you think, people should ever blind buy something off of your advice, or do you find how, testing fragrances is important? I feel that way, but I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I'm kind of double minded about it because I get it. That's our quote unquote job, if you will, where,
Yeah.
people watch your channel, Derek, because you're an authority figure when it comes to fragrances. You know your stuff. You have tons of bottles. You've smelled a lot of stuff. You're doing this for a living. You're sampling new things every single day. So the people who watch your videos and they connect with you and they relate with your advice and your personality, your persona, all that stuff, they say, you know what, chances are if Derek is going to like it, I think I'm going to like it too. So I think a lot of people are turning to you because they trust you and you are that authority figure. But I
Yeah.
also understand where you're coming from as well. I would equate it to, maybe going to a restaurant with somebody and it's like, oh man, you got to order this thing off the menu. But if they're not into seafood, they're not into seafood. So they're
Yeah.
not going to enjoy it. Or if they're allergic to something or if they have dietary restrictions or whatever. So my whole thing is I'll make a recommendation for you of what I think you may like, but
Mm.
I don't want to be the one to blame if
Yeah.
you're the blind buy, it comes in the mail, you spray it on and you think it sucks, or you may like the way that it smells, but your skin chemistry is going to be different from mine. So I don't want
Right.
you to come around and say, oh, you said it lasts 8 hours, but I only got 7.5. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
like, please don't blame me for that.
Right.
But that's why I always say, see if there's a way that you can try it. If you can
Mm.
sample it on your own skin, your pH levels might be different, or your
Yeah.
personal taste might be different. Or kind of like you said, it's hard for you to go back to New Orleans because you've had certain experiences there that could have been, for lack of a better word, traumatic. I
Mm.
think it's the same thing when it comes to fragrances. I think there are certain ingredients like patchouli, for example. So many women who watch my videos are like, I can't do anything with patchouli. I literally replied to a comment right before this podcast started. And
Mm.
somebody who's like, I don't like patchouli. What else can you recommend to me? And they
Yeah.
just have these adverse associations with certain notes or ingredients or olfactive profiles or what have you. So, you know, one of the things that I kind of do to try to circumvent somebody not having a positive outcome with their blind buys is I'll just ask them, like, what are some of the perfumes that you're really loving right now? And
Yeah.
they'll say, oh, I really like this perfume, that perfume, that perfume. And I'll say, okay, based off of your interest and your track record, this is one that I think you're going to like. It's not always a guarantee, but for example, if somebody really loves La Vie est Belle by Lancome, and they
Mm.
also really love Flower Bomb by Victor and Rolf, I have no problem recommending The Kingdom by Latafa because I
Yeah.
know it's in that same olfactive wheelhouse.
Right.
But again, it's like you have to get to know the person pretty well before you can make a recommendation like that. And what we do is it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but we
Yeah.
certainly try our best.
Yeah. I mean, I always like when someone asks me for advice, like, oh, what fragrance should I try? It's like I need more information, Um, I need to know, you know, especially when someone messages you online, it's like, well, I mean, I know these things shouldn't matter, but they do, unfortunately. And that is, you know, what's your, how old are you? Um, what style of fragrance do you typically enjoy? Are you looking for something for the warmer weather, for the cooler weather? Are you looking for something that's going to be more versatile? Are you looking for something a little bit easier to wear, like a dumb reach, or are you looking for something a little bit more artistic? I mean, there's so many factors that go into placing a suggestion on someone that it's not an easy quick answer.
Yeah.
And you know then you've got the other thing, which is that there's people out there pushing clones, and there's literal teenagers and early 20 somethings out there buying clones of a fragrance because they want to smell bougie, but yet they've never smelt the original. And it's like, well, how do you know you're going to like the clone if you don't even know what the original smells like? And then there's the chance that they might smell a poorly made clone,
Yeah.
and then they poo poo the original because they didn't like the clone. So I mean, there's a lot of weird things like that. And then also, I guess for me, one of the reasons why it's hard for me to like tell people, yeah, go out and blind buy this, it's really because if I do suggest you do that, you smell it and you don't like it, guess what? I just lost the trust of you. I lost your trust. And I don't want to put myself in that position. I don't want to lose your trust. I want you to believe, to trust at least that I enjoy it. And, at the end of the day, that's really all I'm doing is telling you if I enjoy something. I'm not telling anyone that you're going to enjoy it. I'm simply saying I enjoy it. And if you trusted the last 10 fragrances that I enjoyed, you may have a better chance of enjoying that one as well. But with fragrance, everything is so subjective, and, you know, literally anything can change day to day. I mean, I have bottles that literally the first 3 months I owned it, I didn't like it. And
Mm.
then one day, for some reason, something clicked in my mind. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden I sprayed it on my hand, and it became something that I'm like, this is something I need to wear every day. And I don't know why that happens. I don't understand the science behind it. Human brain is very interesting, but you know, there are literal bottles that I literally just put away, will not touch, and then one day it just, whoa, what happened? This is amazing. And in the same respect, I have bottles that I love and that I always wear, and all of a sudden I'm just like, you know what, this is basic, or I can't, I don't get what I used to out of it or something. And that goes into like the next topic for me, which is like people always assume that because you don't have the same experience with a scent that you did 10 years ago or 5 years ago, that these bottles were just, reformulated or cheapened because um they don't have the same experience they used to. And realistically, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that our noses change just like our taste buds change. When we were kids, we might have loved to eat sticks of butter, but now we can't even fathom dipping our lobster into it. I mean, there's so many things that change as we age. So anyway,
Right.
that was just my take on things. But I mean, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, there's so much to consider. You also kind of passively mentioned budget.
Yeah.
And you talked about a lot of teenagers who are getting into clones and stuff like that. And if people ask me for a recommendation, I can easily recommend a Latafa, which is going to
Mm,
be 30-40 bucks, or
yeah.
I can recommend a Raja Parfum fragrance, which is 5 6 700 bucks.
Yeah.
So the number one thing that I need to know is, what are the fragrances that you're enjoying
Hmm.
historically? Which ones have you enjoyed? And I'm going to try
Yeah.
to make a recommendation similar to that. I also need to know, what is your budget, and
Yeah.
also what are you trying to accomplish.
Mm,
A lot of people will say, well, I just need a good fragrance for work. This is the
yeah.
environment that I work in, and I need a new daily wear, right? A Swiss Army knife, a signature scent. Some women have approached me and said, look, I'm getting married in July. What can I
Yeah.
wear? It's like, okay, is it going to be an indoor wedding? Is it going to be an outdoor wedding? Are you a fan of some sweeter profiles? Do you want something very light and floral and dainty and ethereal and whatever? So I think it really all depends on what that individual person is going for. But yeah, just to go back to something that you said, you mentioned how a lot of times they'll try the clone without having ever tried the original, and then
Yeah.
they'll say that the original sucks, right?
Right.
That's happened on so many occasions where I'll approach them about it. I'll say, okay, well, where did you get your bottle? You know, because with a lot of these niche brands, there's a lot of counterfeits, right? So let's take Creed for example, and they'll say, oh man, I don't really like Aventus. It's like, oh well, where did you get your bottle? If you don't like it, where did you sample it? Oh no, I mean, I didn't try Aventus, but I tried Club de Nuit and I didn't like it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so you tried a clone, you didn't try the real thing. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, the clone will come quite close to the real thing, but you can't say you hate, an artist's painting of something, but you only have like a print of it.
Mm.
You haven't actually seen the real thing in person, right?
Yeah.
So, it's yeah, it's a whole other world when it comes to, trying to fulfill all these requests and satisfy every demand. But, people are going to like what they like. So just going back to what you said, it's all subjective. So I think ultimately people just need to try that stuff for themselves.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, take everything we give you with a grain of salt. We're humans. We're not machines. We're not. I wouldn't even. I wouldn't call an influencer or a fragrance content creator. We're not professional anything.
Yeah.
Nobody has a professional nose unless like you're getting paid to like, you know, pick out certain things. Listen, the only person that's a professional is maybe a perfumer, and even then, you're an artist. You're not really, you can't say that you're like, uh, I don't know. Anyway, my point is that I think us as content creators, when it comes to the fragrance realm, we're just people that enjoy scent, and whether it's something that I enjoy or you may enjoy, you know, enjoy the content, explore, go out there, find things that you love. Um, open your mind to the fact that there's literally thousands of brands and flankers of flankers and all sorts of stuff out there.
Absolutely.
But open your mind, go out and smell something and find what you enjoy. But don't put so much weight on us because we're just people and we're just trying to, really ignite your mind a little bit and open your mind to the fact that you know there's a whole world of scent out there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. You're
but
right.
yeah. Anyway, thank you, Stephen, so much for joining. I'm so glad you were able to join this podcast, and I'm really happy the way it went. I think this was awesome.
I appreciate
Um,
that. And it's just two friends being friends, and it's just nice that
absolutely.
we got an opportunity to catch up. I know we don't speak as regularly as I'd like to, or
Yeah.
but just to have me on the first episode, the pilot of this
Yeah.
podcast, it means a lot, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And hopefully we can get this visual stuff figured out because I don't know why my it looks so crappy. But anyway,
Keep working
hey,
on.
why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. All you have to do is type in Redolessence, REDOLESSENCE. Or if you just type in fragrance reviews, chances are my face is going to pop up somewhere. But stay connected. I read every single message, I read every single comment. I don't always reply to every single comment just because I'm juggling 4 or 5 platforms. In addition to those platforms, I'm also on Lemon 8 and Red Note, and
Yeah.
it takes a lot of the wind out of my sails, so to speak, to try to respond to every single comment. But I appreciate everybody for watching and listening, and thank you for supporting both what Derek and I do. It really means the world to me.
Awesome. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. And by the way, once again, we're doing the Tempest Vitae giveaway. If you guys want to join in, definitely head over to AFSOM on YouTube or TikTok and comment a scent from their line that you want to get, and you could be entered into that giveaway. We will choose someone at random. Also, if you guys are interested in getting some merch, head over to a fragrancestatofmind.com where you guys can buy a t-shirt. You guys can check out all that AFSOM is doing. I love you all. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining the A Fragrant Mind podcast. Have yourselves a fragrant state of mind.
Take care, guys.
Awesome, dude. Thank you.
Nah, man, it's my pleasure, of course.
That was cool. We got it right at